My name is Abhijit Chowdhury. I'm a writer-director. I have directed a couple of web series like Ekin Babu, Man Bhanjan, Astrades, Aka, Salon de Paris. Uh, you can see Bhalobasha Shahor in G5. So these are the kind of work I have done in web series segment. And today I'm gonna tell you about what is the way to write a, a web series. What are the different, what are the process we follow? And first of all, let me start with uh, what is a story like. A story is like something which which makes us interested. And when you talk about these movies, web series, television shows, or theatrical stage, all are basically are stories which are written in a format which you call dramatic writing. So, in any stories or in any dramatic writing, there will be some basic features which are very generic, that any story will have a beginning, middle, and end. We call it a three-act structure, and that is something it was first talked to 2,200 years ago by Aristotle. So it's as long goes back as long as that, because it's very generic to anything. That any story you tell, it will obviously have a beginning, middle, and end. But as we have progressed so far in our different kind of storytelling process, we have really uh, you know have seen that, like, rules are made to be broken and extended. So there are definitely ways we can you can change it in a different, you can present it in a different format. But as a whole, we know that in the beginning, we we talk about a protagonist, his or her current state, and the world he lives in, and then a particular challenges he faces, and that challenge actually leads to a confrontation between him or the antagonist. Either it will be an antagonist or a condition he's trying to survive with. Like, if we talk about Ramayana, Mahabharata, all have similar thing, right? Like, Ram's wife Sita, he got kidnapped. He now has to uh, get her back. So that is where the end of the first act is happening, and he has to act on that. So the second act is the entire struggling, how he is doing the every work to achieve his goal. And there will be a certain point where he or she will have the worst position in this struggle. It will look like they are going to lose. And at that point, the third act will occur, and it will go to give a final resolution. So you hate it or like it, that if you remember any movie structure, any kind of audio-visual drama you have seen, you must can find out the basic three acts. Now, Now the thing is that now when we are talking about multiple forms of content, we have seen these things have changed in a different fashion. Now, what are the basic difference we have seen with this film which you go to see in the theater and the television? If we closely observe, we will find a very fascinating nature of the stories. There is one key difference. Any story, when you talk about any story of a film, you will see that At first, the structure is diverging. The There are many new characters are introducing. There are different subplots, and at the midpoint, this entire thing is now converging to an end. So it will look like a diamond structure. In cases of uh, any television series, you will see the character's life are more of like a parallel or kind of a sine curve like that. Why it happens like that? Like let me give some examples. Like for example, when we see the television series, like let's talk about the series we have, from our childhood we have watching, like lots of Disney cartoons, uh, uh, you know Mickey Mouse, Aladdin. There are plenty of other cartoons or superhero films where we have seen that the the basic life of their life, it has a infinite structure. It is going on and on. We are so much in love with those characters. We are happy to to see more stories about their life. It will be different segmental stories, but as a character arc, there won't be much bigger change. So they will continue to live like Shaktiman. He continues to help other people. He will be a hero. But in movies, you will see that there is a finite structure. There is a certain, it's like our own life, that it will be a rise of a character and then there will be a fall. Like Godfather, it will be a rise, then there will be a natural fall. There will be a new generation that will come. So that is one of the key difference, because in theater, when we used to go to a movie theater, we are going to watch it for 2 hours or 2.5 hours, where you want to see a complete story. And that's why it has a finite structure of the character's journey, the protagonist's journey, that he sets out for a conflict, he fight with the against the condition or the antagonist, and then there will be a final resolution. So if you remember your movie going experience, and if you can try to uh, map this idea, you will find that almost all the movies follow the same pattern in the same way. Now, today we are talking about more of the series. Now, here is the thing that series has had also his own, uh, you know, mm, own process of change. It has also has an evolution. So previously we were used to watch television series which will be like 900 episodes, 600 episodes. It will be continuing watching like 2 3 years. That has got changed. We are talking about there will be mini series, and there is the latest format which we call the web series. Now, what happens in those cases, that here not necessarily the characters will have a finite character arc. Like there are definitely, you can talk about great television series like The Office or The Big Bang Theory or The Friends, where we see the characters, we are so love with those characters, we are so much in love with those characters, we can continue watching them years after years without much change in their character arc. There is no one big problem, there is no one big conflict that is happening. That is all happening in a short format. Now, these things has been, you know, this idea was an existing idea for television. When people understood that uh, there are a new audiences, getting created in the world, who are in love with series pattern, because there they have the opportunity to stay with the characters for longer period of time, but still they want in a more realistic world type of character. They try to make, they try to make series which are finite series, like for example Breaking Bad. The the guy had a cancer, and for his for his family, for his money problem, he must do something out of his regular job as a professor to earn money. And for that he a very a teacher, a chemistry teacher, gets into a profession of drug trafficking, drug making and drug trafficking, an illegal job. Now, when he goes into the crime world, we know that this man who got a terminal disease, cancer, and who is in the crime world, he's definitely not going to survive for infinite period of time. It's not possible. It will be a finite series. It will be a there will be a duration for that. Maybe they can push it, but it is going to be end. He is not a Superman that he will live for ever and ever. He's not a Mickey Mouse. He's a realistic character who has a rise and then who has a fall. Now, the important thing of to understand here about the structure, that you know, how when he is going up, and we know there will be an end. In the between, in this zone, how long you are you are putting him in good and bad condition. So his character flow will be sometimes up, sometimes down. There will be always risks, and we will be in sync and so much empathize with the character. We will follow his journey completely. So that is the basic trick of the current web series now, where there are you know three important things. One, first, you choose a theme. You choose what kind of theme you are talking about. You want to talk about a history of corruption in India? Let's make a Scam 92. You want to talk about a drug story? Yes, we have a theme. They are making Narcos. Now, the interesting thing about when you are using a theme, using a very prominent theme, then even when your characters dies with the same theme, you can make another season where you can create new characters, have new characters, but they will follow the thing. Like Narcos season, if you will see at say, season 2, I guess Pablo Escobar will die, but the Narcos series does not stop there. It continues the theme with another drug lord story. There will be a story of in Mexico, in other part of Latin America. And as we are so much involved in the theme, we are already, bought in. We are ready to give our, we are ready to watch them again and again. So uh, the 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 other example, with theme will be a beautiful series Fargo. Like in Fargo, you have seen that. Uh, Actually, there was a movie of Coen Brothers, Fargo, and the director actually used that theme to make this Fargo series. And you will see that every season will follow a particular nature of stories, where there will be some similar visuals. It will be places which are cold, and there will be snowfall, and the crime will happen in a very cold way, and the with a with a great criminal mind, the our protagonist will fight against the criminal mind. He will be very simple. He or she will be very simple and vulnerable. That is a common structure, and they have used that same structural thing in different seasons with the different stories. So that is what is the importance of theme. Now, second thing is character. As I told you, a character, we when we see a character, and if we can empathize with his work, then we fall in love with the character. We want to follow him again and again. Like I told you about infinite television series like Mickey Mouse or other superheroes, and in India we have Shaktiman and all those places. Even if you watch my Eken Babu, it is also a kind of continuation of the same detective in every different stories. Now, uh, the thing about character is that, like, you can you can make him vulnerable, and you can you can make him go through in a path which will actually creates your plot points. So let me talk about, once again, when we talk about any dramatic writing, there are three things we actually talk about. One is theme. Second, the characters. Who are the characters? What they do? What is their profession? What is their personal life? That is the character, and what he is going to fight. And when this the confrontation of a protagonist and what and either the antagonist or the goal he is trying to achieve, when that kind of confrontation arrives, the device we play with is called the plots. So there will be different plot points where through which the character travel. At the very beginning, that's why I talked about the plot structure, the 3-act structure, which was the basic plot structure uh, for last 2000 years. But as the time has changed, we have seen the how we can define the structure in other different way. Like, let's say you want to make something, because stories talk about a very longer period of time. So let's say someone wants to make a story in a structure which will be real time. Like, the 2 hours will be exactly 2 hours in the real time. Like, if you watch 12 Angry Men, it will be a movie that the 12 jurors have to decide that whether a child who is uh, you know who is charged with a murder should be hanged or not. So 12 people have to decide. They have to get into an agreement whether this boy should be hanged or not, and they have only 2 hours to decide. And this is happening in real time. So here, when you will watch this movie, on when you try to write those movies, you will see that here exact 3-act structure will not be followed. Like, in a very classical way, the either the break should be 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and 30 minutes, where 30 minutes is the first act, 60 minutes is the second act, and 30 minutes is the last act. Now, when you deal with this kind of real time movies, there, the basic fundamental rule is the it's the is the clock ticking. Every moment is important, and the exact and at the very in a very early time, you will know what is going to do with the what we're going to do with the main protagonist. So here the rule change in a different format. Again, you have stories where the structure will be two real times, two different timelines happening parallelly. Like if you have seen Godfather 2, you will see that there are stories of the son and father in two different time era, and both are both are going in a parallel way. So that again became another structure of the story. There will be stories like hyperlink stories, that there will be three kind of different distinct stories, but they will be linked with very you know very very minute or very weaker links, which are not very much prominent. So if you have watched movies like Babel, you will see there are three different stories of three different protagonists, and they are linked with very not very obvious links, but it's something which talks about entire humanity, as if the writer director, they are they are they are trying to find a pattern between different human stories. So my the whole point here that I'm trying to submit here to you is that uh, sometimes we are so much so much trouble with follow to exactly strictly follow the rules, but we need to understand that in creative world you must know the rules, but you must know also how to break them, how to go away, how to go out from that rule circle. So let's talk back with our main topic here today about web series. So in web series, we need to understand that when we will choose a story that will think we are going to pitch for a web series to some some OTT platform. Maybe you love a story which you have read somewhere, and you want to pitch it as a web series to some OTT platform. So how you will understand whether this story has the potential to be a series? The first rule of that, when you when we when you look at the story, you you need to judge whether this story can create a world which is very much interesting to watch. Every series creates a world with character, with space, with different time eras, but the world needs to be interesting. Think of Game of Thrones, that it's a different world, and it can go means the world is so interesting that you want to stick with it for longer duration of time. The the most important thing we, uh, we need to understand when we talk about web series is there is a key difference between a web content and a theatrical content or a television content. When you when you go to a movie theater with your friends and family, you are confined there for 2 hours. It's a community viewing. You are enjoying with other people. You are waiting that your superstar will come here, your favorite hero will come on the screen. He will look big and he will do heroic things. There will be dance, it's very colorful, and the whole purpose is that you will get enjoyed the company of your family, friends, and with the presence of the hero will give you a different kind of happiness, a different kind of engagement. When you are watching television in your home, you are mostly listening to the characters. You know the characters, they are there for 1 year. They're coming every at 7 p.m. every day. the whole 2 years. Your mother knows it, your father knows it, you know him. And that family viewing has a different kind of attraction altogether. But in case of web, it is a relation between an individual viewer and the content. You have a you have either a laptop in front of you, or you have a mobile phone in front of you through which you are watching. And the basic thing is that, like, you have every way that you will close that app or close the browser and stop viewing and go to a different thing. Because when we are on internet, we are very much in a mood of, change. If something bores you, you will very quickly move out of it. The content must have a quality here which will continuously makes you interested. You can't, take your eyes away from the content. So that is one part which is very important when you are having this, uh, you know, thinking content or writing content for web series. It is going to be a one person view. He will watch alone. In most of the cases, he or she will watch alone. The second thing is, like, uh, whenever you uh, you create a content, it will have a episodic structure, because uh, definitely it will not a complete. You are not making an entire film. You are making different episodes. So here the basic one fundamental will change here, that in each end of each episode there should be some hook point. We call it a cliffhanger, so that the audience will go on and click the second next button. So there should be some, most of the cases, there should be a crisis, a big crisis of the protagonist, for which you will watch the second episode. So that is important, to have the hooks on, have the cliffhanger. So, and another part of any, you know good, series, you will find that where you follow a journey, that the character, the central character, has some problem which are eternal. Like, they can, all through the series, they can never get out of those problems. They are very much like let's talk about it, our favorite superhero, Batman. Like, he will always have the guilty feeling for her father's murder. He thinks that in some way his weakness has killed his father. So he cannot come out of those fear or those weakness. So, so or you will see that he has gotten certain kind of moral, that he can never kill Joker, even when Joker asks for, to kill him. He has to follow some moral, some principle, which he cannot come out of it, which he cannot get rid of. So any kind of, when you're creating a character, a protagonist character, you must think of this kind of, behavior of your centralist or the protagonist, and in some way you make him vulnerable, you make him weak, some weakness, so that you can say some, basic ideas about how you, uh, structure your stories. Now I will give you one uh, one very useful advice which we all follow when we write any kind of dramatic writing, and it is particularly very important for a series. When you write a story, you will always see that there are different events of stories. We call it as story beats. So a story bits are like different events. Now, when you write the story and when you check that whether it's working or not, you always have to see one particular things, that how your different story bits are linked with each other. If the story bits are linked with and, then you should be aware that your story is a wrong story. It won't appeal to the audience. It can have the continuous viewing, because the you know we we always, when we write the stories and we have different story events which we call story bits, we always follow in a fashion that this happens, but this happens. Meanwhile, that happens. For that, therefore, this happens. So, as if one event is making the another event, the next event. It's like, when you play a carom board, your striker hits a particular piece and that piece hit another piece. So when you write a different events in your story, it will always have a causal relationship, that one scene or one particular event of the story is the reason that the next one is happening. And when it's happening in a smooth way, there will be a but, that the protagonist is going in a good path, but he get another problems. So so if you do follow this psychological relation between all those events, the audience will always be hooked, and your stories will be watched with more attention. So this is my general advice I have for you. Now, if you have any question, I will take questions now and I will try to answer each one of you. Anybody want to ask any questions? Uh, I guess no. I think there is no question as such as of now. So let me move to my last segment, that what is the process and how to develop you know the content, and what is the process to approach to the OTT platforms. The first thing any OTT platform wants from you, from a writer or creator who is pitching, is that a synopsis. There will be a one pager of story, or maybe it can be even half pager. The smaller it's better, where you exactly tell what is the entire journey of the protagonist, what is the basic story, what is the basic storyline. And it's very important to know that uh, you know you have to make it very very specified, very specific. It should be uh, you know talk about in a very in a very brief manner, and we call it an elevator pitch. Like like if you have 1 minute with a person, and in 1 minute you can able to read that synopsis out. The next thing, the next deliverable they want from you, if they like your synopsis, that is the first episodic structure. So in you will if you let's talk about, if you're talking about a 10 episode story, you will have 2 to 3 pages for each episode where you exactly mention what is going to happen in each of the episode. And this particular thing we call it as a story Bible or a series Bible. The third part they will ask for you is the pilot episode, meaning the first episode of the series. These 3 things you need to submit with them, and if they like them, they will have definitely call you up and go for the next step. So this is in general, you know, uh, again I am, the mics are open. In If any of you have any question, you can definitely ask me. Okay, okay, fine then. I guess then that's it. It's very nice to you know have this webinar. I hope to join you again. And if you want to ask me any question offline, you can have my email ID from Eilid, and I will happy to answer you. But for today, this is what the seminar was about. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.